good afternoon. I'm Dan Sonneson. I'm the director of the Language Center at the University of Minnesota. And I'm delighted to welcome you all to another event hosted by the Language Collaboratory. We're a partnership for the advancement of intercollegiate dialogue on the teaching of languages and cultures, driven by language centers and institutes at the universities of Iowa, University of Michigan, University of Minnesota, Michigan State University, and the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Our aim is to provide collaborative professional learning opportunities for educators of language. Sorry, I need to share the screen. For educators of language, culture, and literature. Our series this spring aims at furthering conversations that help uncover the complexities of striking a balance on professional, academic, and personal goals to achieve the well-being of instructors and students of languages. We address this issue through the lens of our current shared circumstances, approaching it from a variety of perspectives, building on the experiences and expertise of individuals on our own campuses. We aim to share insights and to encourage interinstitutional dialogue, bridging the institutional distance and fostering a collaborative interchange of ideas. You are invited to contribute to what we hope will be a lively discussion. The sessions are recorded and will be made available through each institution's website. We ask that you mute your microphone at the outset, that you use the tools in Zoom to contribute questions and comments in the chat, and during the open discussion period to raise your hand virtually prior to activating your microphone. In a minute, closed captioning will be available through the live transcript button in the Zoom menu bar. Our final event of the semester will be held 1 week from today on April 29th at this time. This will be an opportunity to network with one another, focusing on the topic of the term and inviting you to share strategies to prevent teaching burnout. We invite you to join us again for this interactive session. Today's host is Michigan State University. I will now turn the discussion over to Caitlin Cornell, Associate Director of the Center for Language Teaching Advancement, to introduce our guest speaker and to begin the discussion. Caitlin?
Thank you, Dan. You just promoted me.
Oh, where
I'm
are you?
Assistant Director, but we're not going to tell anybody.
Right, hey.
Thank you so much. I'm going to now introduce Xeufei Hao. And actually, before I say that, I have had a little bit of difficulty with my internet today. So we're all prepared for if I cut out a little bit. First of all, I apologize. And Xeufei is prepared to kind of take over in the event that we have some internet glitchiness. So Xeufei is an academic specialist of the Department of Linguistics and Germanic, Slavic, Asian, and African Languages at Michigan State University. She teaches Chinese at all levels. Her research interests include linguistics and applied linguistics, Chinese pedagogy, teacher education, heritage language education, curriculum design, and language program design and development. She's also an active Chinese language and culture promoter in the greater Lansing area, who's served as provost, principal, and board member at the local Chinese community school. Xeufei?
Yeah. Thanks so much for Dan for the opportunity to meet each other, and also thanks so much for Caitlin for being my moderator. Yeah. So today I would like to discuss something about share ideas about building. Can you see this one, guys?
Yep.
Yeah. Let's just. Oh my gosh. Building online Chinese community. So let's start from my kind of module. So basically my Chinese learning community module, including 3 parts. You can see the yellow part, the blue part, and the green part. So this one is in-class stuff, and the blue one and the green one is actual curriculum. So we can focus on the yellow part. From this part, we start that. So I think during the pandemic, lots of us just use lots of technology kind of tools and medias. But that's not the key factors, not the determining factors in learning effectiveness and building and nurturing our community. It is the course design and pedagogy. That's the most important factors. So in regarding my course design, I adopt a flipped learning approach. That means I just ask my students to get prepared before they come into the Zooming class. Before the class, I shared some kind of short video grammars, vocabulary Quizlet, and some kind of materials about like the main text. So they will learn them at their own pace, and then I give them a quiz. The quiz, the purpose is to check whether they kind of master the basic grammar, vocabulary, and main ideas of the lesson text. So with this kind of preparation, they come to the Zoom class. Because they get prepared, so that saves lots of time during the class. We can really jump into the practice directly and effectively. And we can have more time focused on interaction between students and teachers. So after this Zoom class, I still give them some kind of review sessions, like a self-online study. They can do them to further apply what they learned during class, and also can just review and get a solid kind of foundation for the next chapter. So that's kind of, for the course design, I use this kind of flipped learning approach. That's really helped me, you know, because flipped learning, this kind of idea or design is not a new conception, but during pandemic, I have a deeper kind of appreciation for this idea. It really helped me to improve the interaction during class and engage students, and also forming a kind of active learning community in class. So that's the part of the course design. Now let's move on to pedagogy. So we have the frame, right? The flipped learning frame. Now in the class, what do we do to really help forming this kind of building this kind of a learning community? I think the pedagogy, especially design engaging activity with real meaning, that's very important. How do we achieve this goal? First, from my perspective, this kind of stuff really helped me to build up this kind of activity. I choose some authentic materials. For example, when I introduce kind of directional words and location words, I really use the MSU map as an example. So people can naturally know, so here's how usually we work here, teach here, but now we move for virtual in Zoom. And students really miss our classroom, and look at this map, we can really practice. It's authentic materials, also it's real task. So let's get back. So authentic materials, real task activity, and this kind of activity or materials must be better kind of relevant to the students. And if possible, it should be fun. And if it's possible, it's better to reflect the culture behind it. So I have several examples, but maybe due to the time limitation, if you are interested in, we can introduce them later. All of this kind of stuff, we try to use this kind of materials and tasks to promote collaboration among students. So we through this kind of design, I think it's really helped to build this kind of learning community in class. But on the other hand, I'll also use kind of another way to help students better participate in the class. Because participation and the performance in class is also part of our final grade. So students, through these kind of activities and also under this policy, students really share the same value and goal, so we can form a very kind of good learning community, a positive way. Besides this, I mean, that's not enough. We still need to let students have their own voice. So we should at very first, usually 1 or 2 weeks for me, I will let students, including me, get to know each other's name and use their name very often, especially for my class, because it's Chinese, right? Every of my students have a Chinese name. So we really enjoy this kind of stuff because each character has their own meaning. And even the given name and surname is so different with the tradition of English name. So we have lots of fun. And then from that on, we use the Chinese name. And also, for example, we need to know the students, what they are thinking, what their need, time to time, not just for one-time stuff. So through casual chat, through like emails, even surveys, pre-class survey, after-class survey, time to time. So I try to learn what their voice and their needs. For example, you might this semester teach first year and third year Chinese. For my third year Chinese, lots of my students have their own kind of part-time job. They're very busy. And also some of them as seniors kind of prepare for the graduation. I noticed some of them during the class, even though I prepared so much, they prepared, but still sometimes they can 100% focus on what they were learning. For example, for some important or difficult kind of grammar structures. The kind of the preparation is not that enough. So I just chatted with them. How about like you will be the teacher, okay? For the next class, and other students will be the students. So I assign different kind of grammar structures to students. Each one have 1 or 2. They get prepared until the next kind of class. When they start, they ask the teacher to introduce these grammar points and give example and ask questions. Of course, after they finish, I will add more to make sure the quality of this kind of teaching and learning. So that's one way. Some people love that. They said this really make them think, okay, not just from the perspective of learner, also from the perspective of a teacher. So that's kind of one example. Also, especially for the pandemic, for this period, I think, yeah, every teacher has their office hours, but you know, students are so kind of busy. And if they have very burning question, very urgent stuff, they may make appointment or go to our class office hour to meet you. But if for very minor stuff, they may not. So I purposely just start my Zoom class and finish my start my Zoom class 10 minutes ahead of that time and finish it, extend it for 10 minutes. I use this kind of time to engage my students in casual conversation and let them to chat with me, chat with their friends. It's feel free, right? Some students they need to move on to another kind of session for the courses, they can leave. But if you have time, any people can stay here, ask questions, share ideas. Especially I want to see for my early morning sessions, because it's very early. Students get very sleepy and hungry, so we use the several first students to have breakfast together. So we say, oh, you eat this. Oh, I eat this. It's kind of Chinese noodle. No, you eat that. So it's really fun. We are human beings, right? We'll do something really kind of this kind of stuff. So I think this all students have their own voice, and also just provide this opportunity. Let them to communicate with the teachers, really shorten the social distance. And we get to know each other and learn more about each other, teachers, students. Yeah, another one as a teacher, especially during pandemic, we should be more patient, be more encouraging, sympathy and respect. So I think in physical classroom, when you use energetic, this kind of enthusiasm, respect body language is easier. But actually in Zoom class, you still can do that. Yeah, my students love my this kind of style. I do lots of this body facial kind of expressions. So after class, one of my students even purposely stayed there and said, oh, teacher, you made my day. I said, you might make my day too. We support each other, right? Yeah, so they love this way. They convey the interest, respect, and also kind of get people, how to say, emotional support. So this helps us to create a very friendly environment to let students take risk and communicate and collaborate. Through this kind of strategies, I think from the pedagogical kind of perspective, yeah, we together build a very kind of positive Chinese learning community in class.
Your class sounds so dynamic and fun. And now I want to eat breakfast with you, with your class at 9 a.m.
Welcome.
That's amazing. I was actually interested in when you showed us that very interesting model of your sort of overall learning community plan. I was really interested in the extracurricular parts of that, and I wanted to know what those look like a little bit.
Sure. Thanks for the question, Caitlin. So the class times is very limited, right? And also students have the need to meet their peers and native Chinese speakers outside the classroom. So we must attend our community outside the classroom. Back to our modules, you see the blue and the green one. So we'll start from the academic support part. We have conversation hours. Luckily, for these several years, we got each year we all got a Fulbright teacher assistant from the American government. So this TA will help our students to practice their speaking. That's very helpful. And it's optional. Yeah, it's optional. Besides the speaking skills, of course, I hope my students also can have opportunities to develop the other three skills, right? So I try to outreach, connect with my colleagues. Usually they are also professors in the Chinese speaking areas or countries. We have some students. The students majorly in teaching Chinese as a foreign or second language. So they really want to gain some kind of teaching experience. So I exchanged these ideas with my colleagues there. I said, how about like we just work together, collaborate together. So my students want to have some kind of individual like tutoring, and you students can gain some teaching experience. So we just collaborate together. It's a win-win situation. So my students can meet this kind of pair up with the students of my colleagues. They meet weekly and get individual feedback from their tutors. And yeah, this kind of activity under supervision under me and the professors I collaborated with. So I think it's very positive stuff. It's optional too, but most of the students will choose that. So they can make their own schedule, meet during the weekend or what time, whatever. Another part is for the actual curriculum, for the academic support. Yeah, my students also, I wonder, my students also conveys this kind of idea. So in classroom, we learn, right? We always learn. After the classroom, we also learn. Could we have a way to kind of exposure to Chinese language and culture in very much casually, in a more kind of fun way? So I think, wow, how do we just meet this kind of need of my students? So I try to think, how about like just let them to take a lead, not me. I'm really as a facilitator. So I just contacted several of my previous students. They used to do the independent study with me. They are students and students or from kind of linguistics department or education college would like to become the future Chinese teacher. So they are really interested in teaching. I just asked me, do you want to just start a student club? You guys take lead and I will be the club advisor. And they said, oh, that's a great idea. So we just started, we really just registered a student club at MSU. The club's name is Chinese Learning Community. So we registered this club to as a kind of platform for Chinese language learning and exchanging, cultural exchanging. So we already hold some events. Yesterday, we just had one. So it's very kind of welcome among my students. Usually every time among like 1/3 at least, my students from different levels will attend these kind of events. So we're still expanding, recruiting new members, lots of members already there. If anybody, you from your campus, your universities interested in this, we can collaborate. So that's my kind of actual curriculum outside the classroom. Another one is the kind of the green one. It's not kind of belong to my module. Let me show you next pictures, this module, but I still put it here. Why? Just, you know, for each of my kind of course, my students formed a kind of a student group, like on Facebook, this group me, this kind of social media, they have their kind of organization there, can share ideas. Some students invited me to join them. After careful thinking, I said, okay, I will leave this kind of free space for you guys. Because after in the classroom, the in-classroom kind of a community building, we become friends. Through the actual curriculum, events and activities, you learn more and get to know each other more. You already becomes friends, and you should have your own free space, free time to further develop your friendship. So that's all my kind of module about this Chinese learning community. It's still kind of ongoing stuff, right? After the pandemic, I hope we can just keep doing so, and maybe we can really from virtually to physically meet each other. We'll have lots of fun. If you are interested in this student club, you can check online and find us, Chinese learning community. And we have lots of activities recently. So we'll just stop here, just in case you have some questions. Yeah.
This is really great. I think it's really cool, actually, that you not only have cultivated some of the extracurricular stuff, but I wonder how common it is for people to do what you did and even create a space that's just for students that you're not involved in at all. I like that addition. I'm glad that you chose to tell us a little bit about that. So Dan and a couple other people are asking really fantastic questions in the chat. So I'm going to take us there first, and then I think we can open it up to larger questions too. Sorry, Dan, I missed that you asked a very timely question about the flipped model. So if we can return to that, and I'll read that question if I can find it. So you said that at one point that you often have students lead the class, and Dan's question was, when the students prepare a lesson and then they teach it, do they also use the flipped format when they do that?
They don't use the flipped format. They just, I assign several kind of tasks for my students and before the next class. So they will get prepared. They prepare a little bit of kind of PowerPoint slides, usually 3 or 2. And first, the grammar structure, and then kind of example, then they will ask questions. They even mimic me. You learn my style. Okay, guys, you just give several examples. Create your own sentence in chat box. Oh, this guy will say, I give you an English sentence, please. If we use this structure, how do you see it in Chinese? And they said, okay, now you guys pair up 2 and 2 or 3 in your group. Try to make up your own kind of short dialogue. Use these 2 structures. You must include these 2 structures like this. So it's very interesting, you know. Yeah.
So just to follow up on that, what do you think would there be any advantage in saying, well, okay, you've created this PowerPoint, now make a video out of it, and students have to watch this before you come to class. Your activities you can still do once you get to class, but the explanation and so on would be, I mean, to me, it seems it would be kind of interesting, because then you start collecting materials that you can use in future classes.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. So, you know, my previous students have some kind of PowerPoint slides, right? Or the essay kind of essays or short kind of works. When I've finished this course, I usually ask, could we use this kind of stuff as example for future students? He said, feel free to use. They even felt honored, you know, say, wow, my kind of stuff can be example. I said, yeah, you did a great job. Could we use this one? Yeah, so we really use that one. And on the other hand, may I just answer to your questions then? You also mentioned the grammar videos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, grammar videos for that part, I think it's very useful, because when you create some grammar videos, this kind of stuff, you use it for our current students during the pandemic. But actually, after that, we still can use it. Even for current students, usually, I have several kind of lesson module 1, 2, 3, 4, right? When they finish this lesson, they still can come back, revisit these grammar videos.
Right.
And watch them anytime. If they forget something, they want to double check, they can still come back. Yeah, and for this kind of grammar videos, I have 2 parts. One part is key grammar videos. That means they are the grammar structure in these lessons. Also, I also gave some supportive kind of grammar videos, very short, about one last 1 or 2, 3, several minutes. This kind of stuff, like some very important structures, although they are not kind of the required in this lesson, but still very, very helpful. I also purposely give some of them. And for one stage, I even give something like do comparison, because we have several similar structures we learned from lesson 1, and one lesson 2, and one lesson 3, maybe to the lessons 4. I will give a kind of a comparison, kind of a video there. So people can just put them together, compare and contrast, integrate them together. So yeah, things like that.
Dan, while you've got the mic, did you want to maybe ask your other question from the chat?
Just the question, you know, you've gone to a great detail to show us how you're establishing community and how important that is for you. And a question that I have is, to what extent is that forefronted when you're talking with students about what the class is about? Do you talk with them about how community is building is a really important aspect? And do students on their evaluations get asked about, was this an effective class in terms of building community?
Yeah, great question, great question. So usually for my course, I have a pre-survey and after survey. Yeah, and for the pre-survey, usually we'll collect, so what we want to learn, what kind of your purpose attending this class, something like that, and collect some backgrounds of the information. But especially for the post-survey, we'll collect which method you think is most helpful for you. Like for the flipped classroom, the grammar video, and the quiz light, and also this kind of quiz, which quiz, and also for the kind of community building that student club helps you, is conversation very helpful. So I have this kind of stuff to ask them time to time. Yeah, not until the end of semester. For each of our event, you see, for the, let me show we do have survey. Yeah, even for each event, you see. Can you see this is our first event in this semester in February? When we finish our first event, we will just check. For our first event, we do this kind of stuff. So because it's during Chinese festival, traditional festival, so we have like a paper card event. And for this first event, we including this kind of activities. First, the paper card, traditional food, and calligraphy, Chinese zodiac, this kind of stuff. And then when we finish all of this, we have a survey, right? At the end of the event. So which part you like most? Mm-hmm. And in the future, what kind of stuff you really want to do? Do you interested in becoming a member of this club? 100%. So our second event, design and develop will based on this kind of survey. Sure. Yeah. So we do this kind of stuff. So yeah, if you want to learn more, I can share more.
Thanks.
Yeah. I'll go to another question in the chat. Mm-hmm. Allison wanted to know, I know this is more about community building during class time, but as a side note, Allison would be interested in knowing what kind of assessments you have, and if you've had any issues with cheating on Zoom, and if you have, how have you dealt with those issues? Yeah, that's really, really good and also a tricky question. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard for the cheating stuff on the Zoom. So at the beginning, I with my colleagues and also in this field, the Chinese learning and teaching, in many PD sessions, we discuss this issue. So how do we just prevent them to cheat, you know? And we have some class, we have some kind of quiz, online test, studies. How do we prevent them cheating? But when I attend more, after I attend more kind of PDs, also after kind of more chatting with my students, I changed my assessment idea eventually. At the beginning, I said, okay, I teach this kind of stuff. You learn this stuff. Now it's your time to take a test or quiz to see you get it or not. You get it correct. But now I don't think so. I think assessment also is a learning process. So for my current assessment, it's an open booked kind of assessment.
So it's not kind of cheating on the not cheating. As long as you get it correct, as long as you know what is the correct stuff, it's acceptable. I also give them more times to finish this test. For example, for online studies, if I have this kind of stuff, quiz or test, usually I just give you one time to finish that. But now the time unlimited. You can take them as many times as you want. I will pick the highest one. Because my purpose is you really master it. So all this kind of question, like multimedia, like a true or false question, like a multiple choice question, multiple select question, even short answers, short or writing kind of responses questions, really connect with what we learn and you practice. Eventually, as long as you get something, you get it correct, I think you just, you pass. And on the other hand, if you are really kind of a very strict grader, you don't want to like give an open books kind of assessment. There is several ideas. For example, for reading part, I don't put a whole paragraph we use D2L, in D2L. I take pictures. I put the whole pictures there. So it's really hard for students to copy paste each individual kind of sentence or characters because it's pictures. For the kind of ABCD answers choice, same thing. And also give more open-ended questions, especially for higher level kind of language students, like for third-year students. For my third-year students, I leave lots of kind of writing kind of response, this kind of a question choice for them. So teacher may think, okay, it's a little bit hard for them to grading because they read so much. But my suggestions is try to connect this kind of stuff with some funny and interesting thing. It's from the perspective of culture, not just always from the perspective of grammar. We will make it more interesting for both for your students, for yourself. When you ask this kind of a cultural stuff, behind this, students must use this grammar structure to respond. So you just you achieve two goals, right? First, they use this grammar, they use the vocabulary, but on the other hand, they really just look into some cultural phenomena and give their kind of opinions. So I think which perspective you pick is very important. I will try to make this funny, makes it interesting, and also put some controversial kind of question there. So students really love to discuss, to do this kind of stuff. And as teachers, really want to grade because I'm eagerly to learn their opinions. Yeah.
So thank you. I'm sorry, I need to interrupt for just a second to say that our time is up, the time we've scheduled for this, but we are happy to stick around for another 10, 15 minutes to carry on the conversation. Thank you so much, Xeufei, for your wonderful talk. Again, community building is just so important, and it's the kind of thing that really we know helps students feel more comfortable and more willing to take risks. Thank you, Caitlin, for hosting, and thank you all for coming. But as I say, you're welcome to stick around for a little while, and I'm going to stop the recording now.
Thank you so much.